Hey VC, how's it going out there? How's everybody doing this week? I usually do my videos on Fridays. Today is a Sunday afternoon. I was going to do one Friday night. We ended up going out with friends and then him coming back here and drinking, so that didn't happen. And then yesterday, my wife took me out. We went for a hike. Went down to another town after we did some hiking. Found a record store, which was fun. But I'm not really going to show what I got there. I'll save that for later. I did pick up a couple cool things. Today, I'm going to finish off my Kiss collection. This is part 3. Part 4 if you count the thing I did with the solo albums. So this is, I guess we can call this the last 20 years. When I last left off with the Kiss thing, it was 1989 and Hot in the Shade had come out. So what happens after that is Eric Carr dies and the band has to go through another change. And they have to pick up another drummer. And they pick up Eric Singer, who played drums for Black Sabbath at one time. He played drums for Alice Cooper. He's in that Tony Martin era stuff. Eric Singer is. So then he joins Kiss and they put out their next album, comes out in 1992, and that is Revenge. This album is a different look and a different sound. There's Eric right there, the first blonde member of Kiss. Eric will stay with the band for the rest of its career, honestly. This is a killer record. This one I have here. He's got a nice heavy-duty inner sleeve. Picture of the band on one side, lyrics on the other. Download code if you want to check it out. Go ahead and steal that code if it doesn't work. I don't know. I've had this for a long time. I never use them. And it's on Mercury. It's weird to me that the S's are not stylized the way they normally are. Like I said, this is a 2014 repress from the album in 1992. Unholy, Take It Off, Tough Love, Spit, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and Domino, Heart of Chrome, Thou Shalt Not, Every Time I Look at You, Paralyzed, I Just Wanna, and then there's a song called Car Jam, which is a drum solo by Eric Carr. They put at the end of this as a little tribute to Eric. This is a great record. This is heavy, this is grungy, this is hard, just really a different sound for Kiss altogether. I mean, Hot in the Shade was getting a little heavier, but this is pretty good heavy stuff. Especially the Gene Simmons songs on here. It starts off with Unholy, and then it's got Spit, which isn't next, and Domino just on side 1 or 3 Gene Simmons songs, and they're all tremendous. It's got your normal Paul Stanley stuff like Take It Off, and actually Tough Love on here is a Gene Simmons song also. So Gene sings. There's my wife walking in the door here. You could say something. They don't care.
Hi, everybody.
She's not going to come on camera. She's shy.
I am not.
Anyway.
Never mind. It's not important.
Okay. She says it's not important. I'll go get with her when I'm done.
Sorry.
You're fine, honey.
Bye.
That's my wife, everybody. Okay, so she interrupted me. Where was I? Anyway, this is a great record. This is a great record all the way through. So, highly recommend. First one to steal that download code can listen to it. Of course, you can just stream it on your Amazon. All right, after that, they do Alive 3. This comes out in 1993. This is recorded on the Revenge tour that looked like this, the Statue of Liberty. When I saw the Revenge tour, I had second row center. That was really cool. Gatefold double album. Inside pictures of stuff. This is like the evolution of Kiss. It's like a family tree of where all the members came from, where they go, and so on. You can follow that along there. Limited edition white vinyl. Mine is number 3693. And it looks really cool. It's on white vinyl. And the other half of that, I have both of them. The other one, when I met the band, I bought this record I went to the Kiss convention and I bought this record. And then I had them sign had the band sign it on the vinyl. It is hanging up on the wall back there. See that white circle? That's the other half of this. I had them sign it right on the vinyl. I've never played this half of it either, which is okay because it's got a good track listing, but this isn't a very good record. It's got Creatures of the Night and Deuce and, you know, all these cool songs on it. As a Kiss fan, I love all the songs, but this album is overproduced and it does not sound like a live album. And then you're listening to it, you know, and you get Paul's banner during I Just Wanna and stuff like that, and it just, I don't know, it's No Alive, and it's No Alive 2, that's for sure. So, like I said, just overproduced. It doesn't really sound live at all. And let's see. So after Alive 3, and when Alive 3 came out, they were doing their convention tour. When I saw them on the convention, they were doing just like all acoustic sets. The convention was really cool. You go and they had like a museum and all this cool stuff set up and old costumes and, you know, song lyrics written on Holiday Inn stationery and shit like that. And it was really cool. And then they did like drum clinic. You know, Eric did a drum clinic. Bruce did a guitar clinic. And then the band came out and they did a question and answer period for a couple of times where they, you know, there was only like 150 of us in the crowd because tickets were really expensive for the time. And that was, you know, in 93. And I think tickets were like $100, which seems laughable now for the price of a concert, especially to spend all day. And it lasted all day. And after the question and answer thing, they did for a couple hours and they played all acoustic set. And people were yelling songs out from the audience, and they were singing along and all that, you know. They were just playing songs they hadn't played in a long time or whatever, you know, shouting out requests. So they did that, and then because of the success of that, MTV wanted them to do Unplugged. So they did an Unplugged concert in New York, and this is recorded. This is MTV Unplugged. This comes out in 1996. And what happens at this is Ace Frehley and Peter Criss come out on the stage and sit and play with them. And there's some cool pictures on the back of here. It's got a pretty cool track listing right there. It is a double record. This is, black vinyl. It's got the MTV Unplugged logo on there. This one came with this cool poster right here, which I should probably frame up or something one day, but you know how that goes. So MTV Unplugged comes out, and like I said, this is a great record, and you know, 2000 Man and Beth, and on here, Got to Choose, which is the last song on side 4, is a bonus track that was not on the CD edition when I had this on CD. So it's a little bit different. So what happens after that? Because of Unplugged, and everybody was so excited because Ace and Peter were back and played with the guys. Even though when Ace and Peter came out with that, Eric and Bruce stayed, and there were like 6 members of Kiss playing at the same time. So what do? They put the makeup back on, and they're going to do a reunion tour. So they do a reunion tour, and then they record an album. We get a new album. We get Psycho Circus. This comes out in 1998. My copy is a 2014 repress. Mine is not the lenticular cover. This album came with the lenticular cover on it also, where you move it and it's like 3D. There's that. Psycho Circus within, Pledge Allegiance to Rock and Roll, Into the Void. There's some good songs on here. We were all told this was a reunion album, which it is not. We all now know that Bruce Kulick is playing guitars on here, and actually the band, the 4 original members, only play on 2 songs together, and that is I think it's I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll and You Wanted the Best. And then like Into the Void, it was an Ace Frehley song, but that doesn't mean every member of Kiss is playing on that song. There were studio musicians. And like I said, Bruce is there, and Bruce Kulick played guitar. He also played bass on this record, and he has a lot to do with this, even though he is not listed on here anywhere at all. But it's still a pretty good record. Some of the songs are okay, but I do like, Into the Void and You Wanted the Best, and Psycho Circus, and it's had this cool like inner sleeve with it. Like I said, this one's a 2014 repress. It's on black vinyl with the Kiss logo, unlike the other ones. So that album comes out, and the reunion tour is on, and Ace and Peter are back in the band as a reunion tour, and that's how that was supposed to happen. And then we find out basically Bruce is out, Eric is out, and there's just going to be Kiss, and we're going to get all four of them for a few years. But also, in the meantime, while that happens, Kiss had already recorded an album with Bruce and Eric before they decided to do the reunion and everything else, and that is Carnival Souls, which is now Carnival Souls, The Final Sessions. This album was released in 1998 or 97. It's weird, you look at Discogs, it says this is 97, it says Carnival Souls is 98, although I know this album came out after Psycho Circus. So it says Psycho Circus was 98, it says this is 97 when you go to Discogs, but I know that Psycho Circus came out first. And then Carnival Souls came out later, and I know that Paul and Gene did not want this album to come out because it was all about Kiss with the makeup. But the record company said, screw it, we're putting this record out. We paid for it, we're putting it out. So depending on who you look at, it's either 97 or 98. This is a 2014 German press. You can tell by the weird S's on here. And they still have that heavy look. This is a very good album. This is better than Psycho Circus, in my opinion. This has got really cool songs on it. It's really dark. It's really kind of grungy sounding. A lot of people say this is Kiss going grunge, and I don't really see that it's grunge, but it does have more of a grungy sound. But it's not Alice in Chains. It's not that type of sound of music, but this is really cool stuff. Really good songs like Hate and Master and Slave and I Confess and I Walk Alone, and I mean there's great tracks on this record. So this is a German press, so even the labels have the German S's. It is on black vinyl, and I love this record. I wish they would have kept with this. Of course, like I said, this is being released without the band's permission, basically, by the record company, because Kiss is all about putting the makeup back on and doing the reunion tour and Ace and Peter and all of that at that point in time, and that is becoming more and more permanent. So, basically, Bruce is out of the band. And after Psycho Circus and Carnival Souls, Kiss gives us in 2001, they go clear till 2001. Now, there are compilation records that I don't own that are put out, like You Wanted the Best and Greatest Kiss, and those type of records come out, but I have all those songs, and I have double platinum, and I have, plenty of other compilations. I didn't buy all that. I'm not going to go hunt those down on vinyl. If I happen to run across one for a decent price, I do see You Wanted the Best every once in a while, but I'm not going to spend $40 on it. I'm just not, But they put this out. Hey, first time I'm going to show CDs on the Spirit of Vinyl. This is the box set that they put out in 2001. It came in this cool box here with like a metal Kiss logo. It opens up. I still have the order form and everything on here. This card has all the songs on here. This has demos and all kinds of stuff that we'd never heard before. I think it's 4 discs all together. Has this nice, big, thick book in here with like the history of Kiss. I mean, it just on and on. It just keeps going. This is excellent stuff. Of course, see, there's some non-makeup stuff, and there's, non-makeup stuff on here. Let's see here. Disc 1, that's a whole bunch of unreleased stuff, and there's the disc on there. Shows the different years. Disc 2 is 75 and 77. Disc 1 has demo versions and stuff from Wicked Lester, which was Gene and Paul's first band, where they took some songs that they had wrote for them and brought them to Kiss. Disc 3 is 76 to 82, so it's got some, ends up basically, the track listing on that ends with Creatures of the Night songs. And then disc 4 is the Lick It Up era up to Revenge from 83 to 89. And let's see, disc 5 on here is God Gave Rock and Roll to You and live unplugged stuff. Original versions of It's My Life and different things like that. State of Rock and Roll goes all the way up to Carnival of Soul or Psycho Circus. So that is the box set, which I, of course, when it came out, had to have, being a Kiss fan that I am. And now you've seen the first time I've ever shown CDs. So that happens. And then there's problems with the 4 original members again. Ace and Peter are out at different points in time. Sometimes Ace is gone and Tommy Thayer is taking his place as the Spaceman character. Peter leaves. Eric Singer comes in as the Catman character. And the reason Bruce Kulick doesn't come in, he doesn't want to wear Ace's makeup. He just doesn't want to do it. So they get Tommy Thayer, who was from Black and Blue, who was, when Black and Blue didn't really work out, he became Gene's personal assistant. I actually met Tommy at the convention. He was the road manager and the band manager at the time. And they bring in Tommy, who's a guitar player, as the Spaceman character. They bring in Eric Singer as the Catman character. And they put out an album in 2009, and they put out Sonic Boom. This is an unofficial 2019 repress that I have. It is got a cool gatefold on the inside, and there's the track listing on the back. Nothing actually to overly write home about, but it's actually way better than I remember. There's the, I mean, this is a good sounding unofficial press. It's done very well. When Kiss first released this record, it was available at Walmart only, and to buy an OG press, I had it on CD. I wasn't buying vinyl at the time, so when I went to buy this, I couldn't find it for very decent price, especially the OG presses. So I found this unofficial. Actually, my friend Jim, who lives in California, we did a trade. I sent him some, I had a couple of doubles of like Back in Black and Flick of the Switch and stuff, and he didn't have those, so I sent them those, and he sent me this. So that's how I got that. And it's actually a better record than I remember, because when I bought it on CD, I listened to it a couple times, and I was just like, okay, this isn't any good. But the more I listen to it now, after time, I mean, that was out in 2009, it's better than I thought. And then in 2012, Kiss releases their final studio album. This is called Monster, with Eric and Tommy. There's the back cover on that. This is in 2012. This one is an official press, and I actually got this from my friend. There we go. And actually, the story's backwards. I got Monster by trading the AC/DC albums. I bought Sonic Boom from my friend Jim. I got this from him first for the AC/DC albums. And then, like 2 months ago or so, I was talking about how I didn't have Sonic Boom as the only studio album. And he's like, I have 3 copies. I'll sell you one. So I bought one from him. I bought the unofficial from him. This is an official 2012 US press. This is also one of those records that I never listened to when it first came out. And now I got it like a year and a half or 2 years ago. This is actually better than I remember also. This is actually a pretty good rock album. Hell or Hallelujah is probably the only song that ever got any type of radio play or whatever. And unless you're a Kiss fan, you probably haven't heard any of this. But this is actually a pretty good rock album. It really is. So And then that's the last studio album. That's the last thing I've bought. They're putting, Kiss just ended like a year or so ago. They're putting out a bunch of live off the soundboard stuff. They just put out an off the soundboard album a month or two back from like the 87 Animalized tour. Was it 87, 84, something like that, from the Animalized tour. I've streamed it and it sounds okay, but I don't really care for off the soundboard things because, my complaint with the Live 3 is it's overproduced. My complaint with the soundboard is it's not produced at all. And sometimes you can't hear the guitars, and sometimes, how come the drums are so overpowering? It was nice to hear Eric Carr playing the drums in the last off the soundboard, but it's taking over everything sometimes. Cool track listing and stuff like that, but I am not about to spend, you could only get it on Kiss Online, I'm not about to spend $90 for an off the soundboard, because you could only buy it with the record and the bundle with the t-shirt and everything else, and I wasn't going to spend that kind of money. So basically, I have all the studio albums by Kiss now. I don't have all of the compilations. Like I said, You Wanted the Best and Greatest Kiss and all those that they threw out just to fill space up before they were figuring out what they were doing with Ace and Peter coming in the band, and Peter leaving, and Eric coming in, and then Ace leaving, and Tommy coming in, and then Peter coming back, or the other way around. It was kind of like, so they were, and they weren't sure what they were going to record or whatever, so they were putting out a lot of, another compilation album with the same songs in the last compilation album. So I'm not buying all that unless I find them for a decent price. I'm not going to go search them out. So that was from 92 to 2012. That's the last 20 years of Kiss. 2012 was the last album they put out. They did not stop touring and call it a day until 2024, late 2023, early 2024. So they've been riding that nostalgia train for all that time, not changing their shows and just playing the same stuff. Not that they weren't great. I saw them like 3 times since Monster came out, And every time the set was a little bit different, but not that much different. Show was a little bit different, but not that much different. It's a Kiss show. I'm a Kiss fan. I know every song. It was a good time. I'm not saying it wasn't a good time, but I would have preferred the Revenge era and the Carnival Souls for Kiss to continue on like that. That's, as a fan, that would have made me happier than them getting back together. Yeah, Unplugged was cool. Seeing Ace and Peter come out, they should have done that. Could have done that. That revived some interest, Maybe do a quick reunion tour, but you don't have to put the makeup back on. Just, we already know what you look like. Just the 4 of you go out and play the old 70s stuff. You didn't have to do that thing. And then after that tour, just bring Eric and Bruce back into the band and play. But they chose to go the other route and probably made a whole lot more money. Just me as a fan, that's what I would have preferred. I loved the way their sound was progressing through Hot in the Shade and Revenge and Carnival of Souls. I loved the way that they were growing as musicians. And then it just went getting the original members back and just playing all the old stuff from the 70s and not really growing as musicians anymore if you're just a nostalgia band. So anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one, guys.